let's see it in this way. If I want to put a green wall on my house, why I cannot do it? If I pay the rent, I live there. It's the same with the body.
Sexual freedom.
It's just a part of who you are. It's like what color you like kind of thing. It's a personal preference, like who you identify as. And I think it's kind of unfair for you to have to decide what your liberties are based on that. Something that you like, then by all means go ahead and like it, right?
I think it's pretty selfish to say that, oh, it's wrong to have sex when you have this sexuality, and it's right to have sex when you have this sexuality. I think it's everyone's freedom.
You want to do, kiss whoever you want to kiss, hug whoever you want to hug, love whoever you want to love.
All organisms that are capable of sentience deserve our consideration. Anything that's capable of appreciating the spectrum between well-being and suffering deserves our moral consideration.
Do we think about it?
Yeah.
Not really.
That doesn't really bother me.
I think sexuality is such a personal thing, and it's what people most identify with as who they are and like how they're viewed in the world. I really think that you should be able to express yourself however you feel, and I don't even think it should be an issue for anybody else. So why do they care? You're having sex with them.
Comfortability with expressing themselves in a sexual way.
I'm not usually an advocate of having restrictions legally, provided no one's getting really badly physically hurt or massively damaged. So
It's not like you're shutting anyone in a room and going, hey, come on, jump in bed with us. Like, it's whatever, you're just saying what you want.
I think everybody has the right to choose their own sexuality, has the freedom to express their sexuality in any way they like. It's a free world. Nobody can tell you who to love, who to like. It's up to the person.
I suppose the simplest way for me to think about that is just you should have a choice to do whatever you want.
There's people like me who see in the street, you can see in the street, where we came from is totally different world, and probably we need to be more educated about it.
there are certainly a lot of cultural values that probably need to be dissolved somewhat, but with that probably has to come self-control if we're not just going to deteriorate into mindless, nihilistic hedonism.
So recently I've heard a lot about female genital mutilation going on in certain parts of the world. It seems to me that if we're to respect sexual freedom, that has to be a practice that we criticize first. That seems kind of beyond the pale. A real slap in the face to human rights.
For example, in Korea, gays are looked down upon, so I think there's a problem to be fixed.
American society will let you do a lot of things that in another societies will never happen.
There's so many different ethnicities though that have different sexual norms though.
But that has nothing to do with what you're allowing people to do. That's what you're allowing yourself to do.
Sex is not freedom. It's not free. It's limited. Although we have the right to make choices, so it is free, but it's a conscious choice, and limits were given. And I acknowledge and accept those limits, but you have the freedom to neglect and reject those limits.
It's kind of hard for me to have any kind of opinion on that. I don't have nothing against gay people, but it's hard. It's really hard. And where I came from, it was not allowed. It would not be allowed.
In the state of Arkansas, one is only permitted legally to own 5 vibrators.
Really? It's bullshit. Yeah, I think it's bullshit too.
Not a week goes by where something surprises the shit out of me.
My personal opinion is that sex should be between man and woman and after wedlock.
Talk about it a lot more, I think, here as a concept, because what I've discovered is in my travels that elsewhere it's just kind of not that big of a deal.
There are plenty of non-religious people who are also just really judgmental.
Who the hell are you to be telling me what I should be doing with my body and my life?
Gay marriage should be legal, especially here in New York. It's just weird to me
in America, certain states it's legal and certain places it's not. As forward as America is, as backward as it is. You know, in England it's been legal for years now.
It's kind of like the marriage thing. Why is it between a man and a woman? You know, it's like a Christian institution that's built into our society where it's supposed to be separate. So like laws that are supposed to help us or whatever really just tell us what they don't want us to do.
And it makes you feel less of a human being because you see straight people every day walking around holding hands and kissing and showing affection and, you know, talking about marriage and doing stuff at work that you sit there and you're like, I can't take my boyfriend to an event, or what if I hold his hand, am I going to get in trouble?
I think that human rights are a tricky question because you can say that everybody has the right to certain freedoms, but really, like, pragmatically, it doesn't translate.
You have to break down a lot of the taboos that circulate around sex. So people can't feel like engaging in something merely out of self-interest or because there's no like long-term benefit from doing it, that they should feel guilty for that sort of thing. They shouldn't, but there are a lot of forces in our society, I would point out religious sources, that make people feel like they should feel guilty for doing what they find pleasurable. This is an untenable position, it seems to me. If everyone's informed and consenting, then there's nothing wrong with any form of sex, in my opinion. And people need to feel that way too, I think, and we'll be happier and healthier for it.
People like to force their beliefs on other people, which is one thing that this country was founded against.
They're like on NPR.
Sodomy in Florida?
One of those complete like right-wing states, like a gay couple, like two men that were like have their like, window curtain open, and like somebody saw in and they're like sex, they're like anal sex, and it was the point that like they were both arrested because in that state sodomy was illegal. On that, I would like that affirmation or whatever. I would say totally that I think it should be constitutional to have sexual, like their freedom of whatever sexuality that you have.
People get freaked out when they have to think about sex, and for some reason gay marriage makes them think about it more than hetero marriage does.
Codifying in law, I suppose, the right of people to have the sexual partner that they want and more or less engage in whatever behaviour they want.
I do find it really shocking that people that are against abortion, for example, it feels like going back in time. It's just shockingly old-fashioned and shockingly short-sighted, and it seems very repressive of women, to be honest.
So you take like abstinence-only education in the United States, that is a huge problem for sexual freedom in this country. I feel like we can't really be free sexually if we're not informed, and abstinence-only education has been demonstrated not to be effective. All the research indicates that it's not going to prevent people from having sex, and so they're going to be just as likely to have sex, and when they are, they're not going to be as apt or as knowledgeable about contraception and all the relevant information. So, for example, Hillary Clinton came out a couple of years ago, I want to say, 2008. She said, you know, abstinence-only education doesn't work, we know it doesn't, and then she pours a few more $1 million into these programs, and you're just like, what? So yeah, we should be criticizing moves like that, and then we'll get to where we want to be with sexual freedom.
Or at least, or just sex education in general would be the primary thing that a foundation could do to encourage healthy sexual practice.
Definitely the movement towards having more safer sex education is wonderful and very important, because that's definitely the most important like companion to sexual freedom would be also safety.
Government has to be involved about in all this. The same way they was involved about AIDS and all those illness and like the last the swine flu was like, oh yeah, we're gonna teach you how to do this. It has to be the same way. It has to be in the same way. There has to be some kind of way to make blend the people, you know this side, the other side, or it has to be example. Gotta be an example for us to follow. For people like who doesn't believe it or they don't think about it, has to be a way to make them understand that.
The world is basically a fair place once that's established. I mean, affirming sexual freedom sounds like really big fancy words, but all it really means is that you have the right to like whoever you like or choose to be whoever you want to be. So in really simple terms, everyone just gets to be themselves, and I think that's a basic right we're taught to cherish since we were children. So.
Yeah, I feel like being open and honest with people who are a part of your life or who have could be affected by your sexuality, I think is really important.
What is the purpose to want something and never have it? You have to, I guess you need to do it if you want it.
Not voting Republican ever. That's honestly how I feel.
Not voting Republican ever, or just making up your own mind and actually being educated about the subject matter and making up your own mind for it. I think Republican or Democrat or liberal or atheist or Christian or Jewish, it doesn't matter. You should just be honest with yourself, be educated on the subject.
I think it's just another basic right, in addition to freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and in general, I just think it's freedom of love.
A human's right to love whoever they want is one of the most basic, you know. You should be able to choose who you love.